What services do you expect from a financial advisor? And more importantly, what are you actually receiving? There's a perception issue out there that many people are dealing with. And today we're going to take you into the Axio process to explain kind of how they go through the discovery with clients to understand what services they need and how to deliver those at a high level. Welcome in. This is Legacy Beyond Wealth. I am Ben George with Rob Shelton at Axio Wealth Management. Good to see you again, Rob. This is an interesting topic. I know we're going to kind of get over the course of the next few videos into your discovery process a little bit. But why is this so important? I know we talked about a perception issue, but explain what that actually means.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really interesting study when I first saw it when it came out. Some light bulbs went off for me, and we're a very service oriented industry, meaning that that's one thing that we take a lot of pride in as financial advisors. And one thing about this study kind of shows is maybe those gaps where we feel like we're offering those services, but we're not. And so the first interesting thing about this survey is it takes what they would say is the five biggest concerns a wealthy family would have, and that is investment management, making smart decisions with money, wealth transferring of your wealth, asset protection, charitable giving strategies, and tax planning. And they put those questions to the clients out there and said, hey, what percentage do you feel like you're getting these services in these areas? No surprise, the highest one that came back that most services are being received by financial advisors for making smart decisions with money and investment management. But there's some pretty big gaps in here from the other areas that I think are definitely areas that our industry could improve in.
Yeah, and we're gonna have that up on the screen as if you're watching. If you're listening, make sure you join us on YouTube to kind of see that graph. I think it's interesting, a heat map, right? I think of a heat map with sports when you're looking at what parts of a plate of baseball somebody's good at hitting at. But it's interesting looking at this heat map to kind of see that, yes, that investment management is pretty clear, but it seems like they're lacking in almost in every other areas, at least in terms of what clients think they're receiving, right?
Right. And that's the other part of the study that I really like about it is they go back to the advisors and say, hey, score yourselves on the service that you're providing to clients. So when you take a look at it, we'll just take maybe tax planning as a one to pick on a little bit. 85% of advisors say they offer tax planning services, but when you ask the client, only 24 to 25% are saying that they're actually getting that service. And so I think that shows a big communication gap that exists there, that maybe the services aren't going deep enough, that the client's recognizing the value that's there. And so, that's one thing that we've taken a look at and saying, hey, how do we make sure that we're communicating with clients and we're going deep enough that they know that's a value that we're providing, a service that we're providing, but they not just know it, but they feel it, they can understand it. And, if we kind of go across the board there a little bit more there, Ben, you're looking at estate planning, 85% of advisors, again, saying that they provide that service, but only 22% of investors saying they're getting that service. Wealth protection was an interesting one. 75% of advisors saying they do that, but only 7.5% of clients feel like they're getting that service. And to round it out, charitable giving strategies, 80% of advisors feel like they've got strategies and services to help out, but only 6% of clients are feeling like that's something that they're being offered.
Yeah, that's really interesting because charitable planning is something that a high majority of people are actually very interested in, and to feel like they're not getting that service, there's obviously a big gap there. So how do you guys not only make sure that you're offering those, but making sure that, hey, we're actually we know that our clients understand what we're providing them, and we're doing it in a way where they can appreciate that service?
I think it starts on day one, meeting with the potential client that's looking to come on board, going through a very rigorous discovery process. Very hard to be able to provide services if you're not really sure what services the client needs. And so it kind of starts from day one, going through that detailed discovery process. As we go through that discovery process, we're creating what we call a total client profile, where we can really get to see the client in some really areas where maybe other advisors don't dive as deep in. One thing we want to understand is family relationships and issues that might exist there. I mean, Ben, I'm sure you never heard of any problem between relationships and money before,
No,
right?
never.
And understanding what pitfalls may be there. And that's really big when you get into the asset protection strategies and the wealth transfer strategies, to understand that to a level that you could really address the client's concerns versus just handing a business card and saying, oh, this attorney can take care of it for you, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really important that we've set up is understanding the client's expectations. In my book, Is My Family Going to Be Okay? We talked a little bit about this. And to start off that chapter, I have a quote here from Roy Williams, and it really drove home to me. And it's, the first step in exceeding your client's expectations is to know those expectations. And you think that would be fairly simple, right?
Right.
I joke on a lot of times. I learned early on in my marriage that if my wife wanted the dishes done and expected them to be done on Wednesday night, to give her a break and go out and enjoy some time off, if you will, that it's important that I know those expectations and can fill them and get done. If she goes out, has a great night, and comes home and there's a sink full of dirty dishes, boy, that's not going to be a very good marriage
Yeah.
that's going to last very long. And so I say that jokingly, but that's one of the favorite things that we have in our discovery process. Is I love to ask clients, if you decide to become a client of ours, what's some of the expectations you'd have of us? And it's interesting the responses we get back. Some people really take them back and go, wow, I've never had that asked of me before. I'm not sure. We say, well, great. We'll take some time to think about it. We want to dive deep on that and understand it. Others know exactly what those expectations are. And then we can clearly communicate if we can deliver on those expectations, or if there's an expectation that falls outside of the service that we provide. But I think that's a big communication point, just to start off at the very beginning.
Yeah. Do you think that's where a lot of the gap stems from? Is just not that communication on what's expected, both of yourself as the advisor, but also of the client, right? I mean, it works both sides of that. But do you think that's kind of where a large part of that issue comes from?
I do. I think the other second part of it, we look at any industry out there that's service, and if I can pick on one, it's going to be healthcare. I don't know. Recently, I feel like I'm in just a process. You're kind of going from one step to another, just being, for lack of a better term, moved like cattle from one station to the next. And we've removed the human element a little bit. And I know, as I've gone to conferences and trainings, and they talk about, hey, how do you grow your business? You got to make it scalable. You kind of almost got to make it a Henry Ford assembly line. Well, unfortunately, if you're on this assembly line, where's the opportunity to have the customization? Because I don't know that every one situation is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So taking a pause to be able to talk to the client about their unique situation and challenges, I think that's where the gap, quite frankly, exists. I think that's why advisors may think that they are providing that on a regular basis, is because in their mind, they've got the assembly line down. They're saying, yes, we addressed it, but it's a surface issue. They haven't gone deeper to understanding the client, and the client's saying, well, I still have these concerns. They haven't been discovered or addressed. So I guess I'm not receiving that service.
Yeah. Well, I wonder too, though, if we look at that heat map, is it because the professionals they're working with just aren't delivering that at a high level? Is there an example of a time that you've worked with someone that did have a very good list of professionals that they were working with, but still felt that gap was there?
Yeah, I just thinking back to just last month, and in fact, we brought on a newer client, and as part of the onboarding process, talking about their other professionals. And one thing we want to be able to do is to get to know them so we can collaborate with them. And they had an impressive list of professionals that they use. And this is a business that was generating quite a bit of net income, that the client had, over $1 million in tax liabilities. So not something that we really took serious. And it was really hard even to get the professionals to respond back to discuss anything. All great in their industry, but as far as the collaboration piece, that was missing. And I think that for the client, it was very frustrating, because they're saying, "Yeah, I'm paying all these professionals X amount of dollars to be able to work together," but they could feel it when the CPA just came back and said, "Hey, here's the taxes you're going to owe on that." There wasn't a lot of strategizing or anything of that nature. And so they felt kind of just, well, they just plug the numbers in. Are we thinking about things? So for us to sit down with them and take a look at some possible solutions and start to work with their CPA, they were extremely grateful for that.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
For anyone that's kind of wondering, or feels that maybe they do have that gap, Rob, and they feel like, okay, maybe I'm not getting quite the level of service I want. Is that something you can accomplish in your discovery meeting in terms of, hey, I'm going to come in and sit down with Rob and his team and learn more about what they offer and compare that to what I'm getting?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I've learned is it's always great to set the relationship up right from the very beginning. And so I'm a big fan of transparency and honesty. And so we've had a time or two where we've had someone come in and take a look at our services. And if they're not the right fit, we're happy to be honest with them and be able to let them know, hey, these are outside of our expectations, but maybe this professional over here that we know would be the best fit for you. And so in life, I find that it's finding those relationships that really meet those expectations for you that can really deliver. And once you find those, you want to hold on to them and make sure that you're continuing to nurture those relationships because they're invaluable at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, if you want to discover how Axio's tailored collaboration can elevate your financial future, make sure you log on axiowm.com. There's also a link in the description of this show as well, where you can get in touch and go ahead and schedule that discovery call. Just a quick kind of high level look what that discovery call all includes. I know it's about an hour long, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And, we're going to touch on things about goals, dreams, things, places people want to go. Sometimes, again, people may be like, hey, I'm not exactly sure. And that's okay, too. I always joke that these discovery calls we even have after clients have been with us for a while because it's about rediscovery. Life changes. And so goals, relationships, and your professionals you're using, expectations, interests, all those types of things we get a chance to dive deep into.
All right, very good. Well, also, we're going to kind of extend this conversation over the next few videos as well, talk about putting your dream team of professionals together, more importantly, getting them to work together, but also how Axio Wealth Management's systematic process helps kind of tie everything together in the very end. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. We appreciate you watching to Legacy Beyond Wealth. Rob, thanks for your time. Talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Ben. Yep.